All right, guys, welcome back. We're going to be diving right into this today. We're going to be back halving the car. We're building basically a 1.5 by 3 inch, 1/8 inch tube chassis for the car. So from the roll cage back, we're going to be cutting out everything that we had welded up in previous videos, and we're actually just going to go for it. And we are back halving the entire car. So let's get into it. We're going to get welding, and let's see where this goes. Guys, as you can see, we got some brackets for our rear links on the Subaru. Diving in, made some bars, working on those right now. As you can see, the hardest part, in my opinion, of fabricating something like this, again, this is going to be a whole rear subframe or framework, not even a subframe, is getting everything square. So what I'm doing is I'm basically working off of the only sure things that I have is basically my locators, my holes basically for my lateral links. And so I'm going off of that right angle here, using a piece of square tubing, basically marked everything up, welded it to the tubing. This is just almost like a jig. That way I can put my cross section in here and then try to get everything as square as possible. So I'm going to square this thing up, measure everything out to see where we're at, and then we're going to see if we can weld this thing together, start building from here. So that's why this is so important. This step of the process is to get everything square, because everything, as we go further back to the rear of the car where all the other links are going to connect, everything there is going to build off of what we're doing right now. So it's super important that we get a good foundation, everything's square, everything's set, and then we're going to go from there. So let's do it. All right, so we got everything for the most part welded up as far as the start of the rear section there. The weird part about working with rectangle tubing is that if you don't cut like angles and things, like where two things meet together, you have to do basically like half of that angle. So if you're trying to move your metal to go on like a 45-degree angle, you basically have to split that in half, and then you basically cut one side at half of 45, the other side at half of 45, 22.5 basically on each side, and then those two pieces at 22.5 will meet together and they'll have basically the correct matchup. Whereas with this, we're going from 0 to basically 30 degrees. So maybe there's some sort of crazy way to make it work, but at 30 degrees, it doesn't quite work the same. So I'm gonna go ahead and notch that out, basically bring it down, make it come down flat. Nothing a cutoff wheel and a hammer can't help fix. We'll make it just as strong. We're gonna be bracing all this stuff anyway. Basically gonna be sealing this side up here. We're gonna get some flat plate, and we'll basically grind down even the weld, and we'll seal this up, and we're gonna then make it brace to kind of strengthen that up a little bit. There's gonna obviously be a lot of pressure on this area as it connects to the the main section of the car. So it's gonna be really imperative that this stuff is super strong as it ties into the chassis and then the cage as well. So so we're gonna do that. I didn't mention it yet, but basically like our mounting brackets, they're pretty nice, as you can see. But I got these from a company called Barnes 4-wheel drive. I follow on YouTube, Dirt Lifestyles, does a lot of obviously off-road builds, and it's super beefy stuff. So these are gonna be for the lateral links. Basically, these are gonna end up being out here, So I'm gonna have to like extend this framework over here to fit that correctly. But we're gonna get that done. So the main part is off of the main piece of tubing here, but then this is gonna be kind of built off and braced. So we got those, and then we've got these brackets here, these tabs. These are pretty beefy. These are 3/8 inch. So you can see the comparison there. I believe these are like 5/16. So pretty big difference. Again, a lot of pressure is gonna be applied to these as the engine is gonna be right over the rear end. And we're gonna need some pretty beefy stuff back there. We're gonna be beveling these quite a bit, making sure we get full penetration on them. This is obviously gonna go on a section of the framework that's gonna go a little further back. But that's why it's so important that this stuff is super strong and square, to make sure that everything else is gonna go on correctly and make sure our alignment's not whack right out of the box. So we're gonna get this sealed up, get this strong, and then we'll see where we go next. I really don't wanna like skip ahead and go too far forward on this. I wanna get everything like boxed in before we go too far, so we'll probably work on that next and go from there. So let's do it. All right, so basically I made up some lock off plates, and again, this is gonna tie into the other section of tubing. So this is gonna be kind of like our little brace, and it's gonna weld right over the top of everything, tie it all in a little extra. It's not a gusset, but it's basically like a block off plate and also like a support, tie everything together. So I'm gonna weld around the perimeter. I've got everything beveled off nice, so once I weld it, you know, I don't have to go behind myself crazy and sand it down or anything. Use some cardboard aided design here. Usually a good way to do it, just to see kind of what you need. And again, the goal here is to seal off the tubing, as well as brace it into everything else. So we're gonna do that right now. Get these knocked out. Got one for both sides, obviously. We're gonna burn them in. So what I've done basically is I've made a template here. When I put this all together, it's basically a compound cut. So it's 13 degrees one way, 15 degrees the other. Basically, I'm gonna have to cut the opposing piece here at the same exact opposite angle. And that way they meet up and they make the complete angle, which will be 26 degrees and 30 degrees as far as the pitch in. So kind of confusing right now. I use this as my left template on the other side, and I'm gonna flip it the opposite now, and that's gonna help me mark this side. So we'll go ahead and do that. We'll get this cut out, and we're gonna see if we can stick some pieces together. The hard part of this is because it's rectangular tubing, is getting everything to match up without having a gap like we had at the bottom here. So we're gonna do that right now, and I already like proved it with my template. It's just poster board. Really easy way to make a template, way better than cardboard because you can get it a little bit more exact. All right, guys, so that's gonna do it for this video. This is just part 1 of 2 here. Basically, we have got the general framework here all done. Everything is within a little less than a degree as far as square here, which isn't bad for building it pretty much all on a plastic fold-up table and the uneven floor that I have going on in the garage here. So lots of measuring, lots of cutting, lots of grinding, and a lot of you know, mistakes and do's and redos and everything here. So we've got our rear plates here that we're going to basically end up locating in this section that are going to replicate the inner mounts for the lateral links there. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of measuring, but the next video we're going to be doing that, so you better stay tuned. We're going to talk about what we're going to do as far as what we're using for lateral links, as well as our trailing arms as well. So lots to come on there. Stay tuned. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you are looking for more, like I said, go ahead and like, subscribe. There's going to be a lot to come on this. This is just the back, big part of it, so it's going to hold the engine. But in the front, we're going to be probably doing something similar. So stick around, like, comment, subscribe, make sure you share, and we'll see you guys next time. See ya.